Digital nomad is such a big umbrella term, right? It kind of puts everyone that has a computer and that doesn't live in their hometown, basically.
Like here in the islands, the young people now they leave university, they need to go somewhere else to work, right? Because there's no jobs here. If you give them remote work skills, or digital work skills, they can stay here working remotely. They're not traveling. They are traveling less.
Are you ready? All right. Welcome to the Remote Work and Travel Show. I'm your host, Nora Dunn, aka the Professional Hobo. And in this show, I speak with ordinary people who have extraordinary travel lifestyles and remote careers to get the real dirt on what it's like to travel long-term while working remotely. My guests today are Jay and Sara. In 2010, Jay and Sara decided to travel slowly around the world, and their lives completely changed after a volunteer project in a permaculture farm in Nicaragua. After that, Jay was incapable of returning to his career as an industrial engineer in big corporations, and he decided to focus all his efforts on a more purpose-driven work-life balance. He started a company called Clube Greens, and then embarked in online work without ever looking back. Sara co-founded Summit Food with Conscience, an event that raises public awareness on the topic of sustainable food production and consumption while promoting projects with an impact. Together, they are No Footprint Nomads and have lived nomadically since 2010. They organize summits and collaborate in projects that focus on sustainability and remote work. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to speak to both of you today.
Thank you so much. We're excited to be here too.
Yes.
And where are you right now?
We are currently in the Canary Islands. We just moved here 1 week ago, roughly. So in Las Palmas of Canary Islands. So not in La Palma, not close to the volcano. We are 2 islands away from the volcano in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria.
Yes, we feel that we need to say this to people because usually they worry about us. So you went to the island with the volcano? Are you guys crazy? No, we are safe here.
And as I understand it, you are doing some amazing things in the Canary Islands in terms of making it a digital nomad hub. But before we start talking about that, I want to go back to something in your bio that really made me curious. And it was about a life-changing experience that you had while you were in Nicaragua. What happened in Nicaragua?
Well, Jay is giving me the signal to speak, but I think for him this was like his turning point. So I'm gonna
just for me. All right, that's good to know. Yeah. So I think we met. that was strategic. Well, so I think what happened was people, right? So we met for 2 weeks. We've been volunteering for many months. Before that, we were backpacking and volunteering. That was kind of what we were doing. And then for those 2 weeks, we met an amazing group of people, like superheroes. People that were in this world, they were doing a lot of different things, and some of them came from the corporate world too, and that was also what touched me. Like, they were not like a group of hippies. All respect to all hippies around, and nothing against them, but they were like me from the corporate world, and they were there gathering for 2 weeks, discussing, talking, and practicing a more sustainable lifestyle, and also worrying about our planet and about the future of our planet. And in a way, it's like you feel like you've been kind of zombie, for most of your life. That's a problem. There's something happening, but yeah, sure, I'm doing my stuff. And then it's like a wake up call, and that happened during those 2 weeks, meeting all that people. So for me, I could never leave that farm and looking at things the same way. It's like taking the red pill. So after that, the world was just different.
I would imagine as well, I mean, a career as an industrial engineer, that would have been really a stark contrast to the life that you then started building and creating, which was really focused on environmental and food consciousness and sustainability overall. So how did that transition look for you?
So for me, what was hard is that after that experience on the farm, then we continued traveling. Then we went to Brazil for the World Cup, and then let's stay here. It's kind of fun and everything. So I got a job again as an industrial engineer. I got a job in UI, one of the biggest consulting firms, and all my clients were like tobacco company, Monsanto, now the what famous, now it's not, now it doesn't exist anymore. But so all my clients, one also were trying to get a project where the biggest meat manufacturer in the world, and I was vegan already at that time. So for me, it was very difficult to go back to the world that I was into it and just work with anyone, right? It's not that I didn't like the job I was doing, because I was in the city and I was satisfied doing that, but not with anyone. And what happened was that my culture shock. I got to that place, to that company, and started to work. As I cannot. I was waking up every morning and said, "Why I'm going to put all my effort to help these guys? There's so many things I could do to help our society. These guys don't need any money." I have enough, and they are not doing great things for our planet. So for me, it was just the conscious problem, not just to work itself, but just to who I was working for. So I could just go and leave what I did and start something smaller, something I could choose who I work for. And that's in a way what I started to do with Clube Greens, and then something else afterwards I can tell later. But that was the shock. I tried, and I stayed there for some months, but I just couldn't do anymore. I was helping the wrong guys, basically.
Yeah, he was miserable. I can say that it was really hard to see him.
And the funniest thing is that I was at the top of my game, the technical, and I leave university as a consultant, reaching top four, the big four companies. It's your dream, right? That's when you get to top level and become your partner, and you retire, achieving and I was miserable achieving that exact company that I dragged for most of my beginning of my career and my study life. So it was really mind blowing, but yeah, I couldn't do it.
You know, it's interesting. Sometimes people have different schools of thought regarding creating a passion-based career and business. And I feel like what you did when you went into Clube Greens, that is something that was much more in line with your lifestyle and your values, but also probably a passion project. And sometimes that transition from a more corporate existence to a passion project is not an easy transition. How has the experience been for you in terms of creating this business and doing something really dramatically different with your life and your career?
So that's another good example, but this is more like a business bad example for myself. It was good that I decided to do something by myself. So that was the first step of uncertainty. So the Clube Greens was a startup, and it was started by me and 3 more partners. And because we were bootstrapping, and when we got an investor, what happened, and I think that's happened when everyone is bootstrapping a startup, the investor kind of took over the strategy decisions. So the path that we had envisioned in the beginning was changed. So I decided to leave, and then some year later the company bankrupt. So basically we had a purpose, we had an objective to reach of impact, and the investor came and he wanted to get money as fast as possible, and then that's not always possible, and keeping true to your values. So it was, business wise, was a bad experience, but I was still happy because I was pursuing something I wanted to do, and I dream with other colleagues and partners and friends, and so it was a difficult transition, but I'm still happy for doing it because it was in the direction I wanted to go. Maybe the business model was not what I wanted. I think, and from now on, and I've been talking with other startups, other friends, it's like, if you have like a purpose-driven business, try to get a purpose-driven investor. If it's just someone wants to make money, it doesn't match, because it's just different purposes.
Absolutely. And I want to continue this vein of conversation, but I also want to bring Sara into this. Sara, did you also have a transitional moment in Nicaragua, or were you already on this line and doing this kind of work?
So I passed on the ball to Joao because, I think for him, that was really the pivotal moment. For me, I think it was, a build-up of many, many experiences and many moments that we had while we were backpacking. And I think it kind of reached its peak in a bus going to Argentina and watching a movie. And the movie is completely pro-vegan, and
Nora.
I decided to become vegetarian on the way to Argentina. So I never got to try the famous steak, but
I know that's kind of bad timing, but okay.
It was a bad timing, but I think it was also a great test, like first test, becoming vegetarian in Argentina. Wow. But yeah, it was, for me, that was a very important moment of change, because becoming vegetarian kind of changed things for me in terms of how I saw food. When I met Joao, I mean, I was the healthy one, and I kind of brought Joao into, more balanced, more nutritious diet. But when I became vegetarian, I started questioning everything, because once you question what you put in your mouth, you question everything, right? That's the most basic thing, is what you eat. So I started questioning many other things. How do we produce the food that we eat? Even so, my background, I studied pharmacy, and I also questioned that. Trying to find alternatives for minor ailments that are much less um, taxing on your body. So yeah, to me, that was the beginning of everything. It was becoming vegetarian on a bus on the way to Argentina. And yeah, hence my path that led me to organize this event, the Summit Food with Conscience. It's continuing that process that started some years ago.
This is such a perfect demonstration of how travel can change us, how our experiences around the world. And we're going to get into another one that I know was a pivotal moment for both you and me. But travel, really, our experience of the world can really change our perception thereof, and ultimately can lead to these huge changes of career trajectories and businesses. And so now you both are running purpose-driven passion projects, online businesses in the projects that you are doing. How has that been as a career and a business progression for you over the last however many years?
Hard. Yes. So
it on to you again.
I think it's easy to explain the transition, how it happened. So we were both in Brazil. So after I left the company, and then I had the Clube Greens, but until Clube Greens was making money, because it wasn't for a while, so we had to make money, and we were both started to teach English in Brazil, and then there was a moment I was in a co-working space, and I met an online English school. And then I said, "Oh, why don't we do the same but online?" So that was the first step for us to go into the online world, but not exactly. We didn't see that as, "Oh, there's many opportunities to do things online. Let's change completely." No, it was just okay, just something temporary that we could do. But then I met a guy that was part of a digital community called Dynamite Circle, and introduced me to that community. And we went, decided to go, basically also on his inspiration, we decided to go to Asia, to Thailand.
Well, we need to say that you won.
Oh yeah, but that was between, okay.
That's why we went.
Yeah, so I won. Yeah, so for that community, they do a big conference in Bangkok, like 400, 500 people, and it's quite expensive. And I was lucky enough to have someone in the community that wanted to pay it forward, and you offer a ticket for someone that said something that they thought it was interesting, and I said something they thought it was interesting, and so we decided to give me the chance to go to that conference, which was full of online entrepreneurs making lots of money, of course, and we had nothing, and by then, so we were just very lucky. So when we moved to Thailand, and then we went to that conference, and I spent hours with all that people, I was blown away for how many options you have to make online businesses, how many must you make online, because I was completely in the dark about this.
Mm-hmm.
We knew about online blogging, we knew that some people sold some things online, but we never thought like individuals, and we did about writing books, and that's it, right? And then you go to this conference, you have like dozens of people doing completely different things, and things you never thought were possible online. That was it. Okay, so I think it's time for us to change our approach to our at least future, and short-term or medium-term future, and let's find our path for online businesses and whatever we wanted to do. That's when we decided to go the hardest way, because I remember I was doing a I was doing a mastermind there, and a lot of people in the group, they're like writers, e-commerce coaches, a lot of people, and I said, "Oh, I think we want to do a content website about our lifestyle." And one said, "Oh, Joao, do you understand it's going to be the hardest way to get there?" So,
Yes.
Okay, yes. Well, yeah, we decided to go regardless. And now I look back and I said, they were really right.
And now you have all kinds of projects that you run online, as well as events and summits, and you are moving and shaking and doing so pretty much all within the environmental space in one way or another. Is that correct?
Yes, as much as possible. So for us, it's like you said earlier. Like for us, anything that has to do, and in my case, a little bit remote work and sustainability. That's what we are focused. Remote work for me, I also focus a lot, and I have a lot of events about remote work, but not because of amazing lifestyle it brings, which it does, but also because of the revolution it brings to our society. Because remote work allows a better distribution of our society, of our population, much more sustainability because much less travel. So for me, what interests me in terms of remote work is the positive impact in our society in everything, not just on your perfect lifestyle by the beach. That's just a byproduct of it.
That begs a really interesting question, and it's something that I have been struggling with a lot over the years. I agree that remote work is something that is very environmentally friendly and sustainable when we look at it from a perspective of people who live in one place. They no longer need to commute, and a variety of different reductions in our carbon footprint. And then I consider the digital nomad lifestyle, and I'm of two minds about whether or not this is environmentally friendly. On one aspect, a digital nomad travels, and travel, specifically air travel in particular, has a very large carbon footprint. But on the other side, when everything you own fits into a bag, consumerism is no longer a factor. And the buying of goods and consumerism in general is a massive environmental offender if we take a look at the entire supply chain and product cycles. So in some ways, it's not environmentally friendly, and in other ways, it's environmentally friendlier than we might even have imagined. What is your opinion about the digital nomad lifestyle in regards to sustainability from an environmental point of view?
That's a critical question. Every time we do a workshop or a talk about this topic, people ask us, "Oh, so you are just a nomad, sustainability, but you travel or you don't travel?" They always ask us this question, obviously, and there's and honestly, and that it's a long answer because there's no real answer, and it's a big calculation because you said consumerism, that's true, but at the same time, when you travel to a new place, you need to buy stuff for that new house. Even if you live for some months, there's sides of the coin that we discuss. And I read an article recently that really explained my perspective. Is that we should not look at our footprint, but our foot shadow. And what it meant with that, or shade, what it meant with that was that if you compare a climate engineer that travels every week because he has to go and talk with others, and someone that is working on the coal industry and doesn't travel, what's better, right? To have someone that needs to travel but is actually changing and impacting our climate, or someone that is not impacting on his job but it doesn't move at all. So the same when we travel, and we like to hope that because we are learning more and we have our eyes opening and we are seeing what's happening around the world, we probably become more sensitive, and then we start to work in environmental causes like it happened with us. That's one part of it that can change, right? Then the second part is the digital nomads. Indeed, in the beginning, they start to travel a lot, like crazy. But eventually, they understand that it's not sustainable, even for their minds and their wallets. So the more mature digital nomad remote worker tends to stay a little bit longer and longer. And for example, we advocate for slow nomadism, which for us means 2 or 3 years, which is kind of, people don't even think that's nomadism, but it is. So again, there's many variables about this question that is not saying, yeah, of course, I don't leave home, so I'm helping the planet. Maybe I'm helping more if I'm going somewhere and spreading the words and doing events about sustainability, right? So it's not something that can say in black and white, yeah, this is better, it's many.
Yeah, and there are always choices that you can make as a digital nomad. I mean, if you have a little bit more time, if you do well your research, You can try to find ways to reduce your environmental impact. The way that you get to a place, for example. I've seen super interesting projects of people that ride bicycles or take trains, or
like we did in Thailand. We took a train. So yeah, in Thailand we used to took the flight to Bangkok and then a train to Chiang Mai, and it's a 12-hour
10-hour train. Yeah, it's an experience. And when people have those values ingrained, and the digital nomad is such a big umbrella term, right? It kind of puts everyone that has a computer and that doesn't live in their hometown, basically. So it's a huge diversity of people. And what we're trying to do, and Joao mostly, is basically to bring that perspective on, the impact that traveling has, and that kind of moving around, and the digital nomad community has.
And again, we can talk about digital nomadism and remote work, because if we talk about remote work, then we can talk about people like here in the islands. The young people now, they leave university, they need to go somewhere else to work, right? Because there's no jobs here. If you give them remote work skills, or digital work skills, they can stay here working remotely. They're not traveling. They are traveling less. So again, this is there's no final sum for this. We'll see. Maybe in the future we'll be able to evaluate, but honestly, I have no doubt that we'll be better off sustainable wise as remote workers or long-term travelers. Because also another point, if you become a long-time traveler or a remote worker, you stop being a short-term traveler, because it doesn't make any sense for you to travel for a week anymore. You completely, and I've been talking to tourism board in Portugal and say, guys, it's two different markets. It's not the same people. Once you are able to travel freely, you're never going back to your 2 ways or 1 week package of tourism. But it doesn't make any sense. So if you focus on this one, you need to think that this one is going to be smaller. So again, it's a total revolution. That's why it's so exciting.
You're absolutely right. There is a total revolution happening right now. And I think the world as a whole is still feeling our way through it and to it. The governments around the world are now offering these remote work and digital nomad visas, but I'm not even sure they know exactly who they're catering to or what these people would do when they show up. So, and nor do I think the people who would be getting these visas even know what's going to happen. Certainly, if I look at my own experience of the last 15 years of being a digital nomad and working remotely, my life and lifestyle and location has changed dramatically over that time. And I think we as a world now embracing remote work and all that offers. Like you say, it doesn't even have to be a travel-based lifestyle. In fact, remote work can help people stay in their home countries with their families. That's a whole new element of life that takes out a whole area of immigration that has previously been a necessity for some people.
And to add on that, there's also some countries that are looking at it as bringing their immigrants from other countries coming back home, because they'll be able to get remote work from the place where they can go back home. So there's a couple of countries in Europe that are also focusing on this strategy to bring them back, and not just to retain them, but bring the ones that already left. So again, this will take years and years and years to get any kind of final version or final design of our society, because it's just messing with a lot of parts of our society, if not almost all of our society.
Speaking of evolution, you referred a little bit earlier to how travel can change our trajectory, and also we can have these experiences that change how we see and think and view the world. And I know that we both share in common changing our perspective in Vietnam. And for me, it was actually Thailand and Vietnam. I spent a couple of months in Thailand and Vietnam. When I was in Chiang Mai, I was staying near a shopping center that had a food court that was where really locals and travelers alike had most of their meals. And I noticed by midday, the garbage cans, not in recycling bins, garbage cans were literally overflowing with bubble tea and plastic cups and straws and whatnot. And I always found this really disturbing. And then I went to Vietnam, and I was in Hoi An, and I did this wonderful river cruise. And it was actually a cooking course on a riverboat. So it was great. It had the best of all worlds. And we got on this little boat and we chugged our way out of the picturesque Hoi An harbor. And as we got out of sight of what tourists would see, I looked at the riverbanks and they were literally lined with garbage. It actually looked like Hoi An was built on garbage. And that was my moment. Between that and the experience that I had in Chiang Mai the month prior, I changed my entire perspective on single-use waste. And I actually, from that moment, developed a mission, if you will, to not generate any single-use waste whenever I leave the house. So I have a little zero waste kit that I travel with, and which I'm going to want to talk about zero waste kit in a minute. But I first want to ask you, what is your zero waste? Because you had a moment in Vietnam as well. And what was that moment?
So we decided to have a challenge to travel for a week in Vietnam with no plastic. Or to no single plastic, and we did to act have some.
We were very successful. I mean, well, almost.
Yeah, we're almost successful, but during the week we managed.
Yeah, I mean, it was a struggle because you go to a coffee shop and you want to buy, a piece of cake, and the piece of cake is wrapped in plastic, so you cannot eat. You go to 7-Eleven, which is the convenience store in Asia, and you want to buy a banana, but you have bananas singly wrapped in plastic. And you start thinking, okay, what can I eat? And you start it's really hard. It's really hard not to consume plastic, disposable plastic, especially in Southeast Asia. Yeah, it is a big concern.
And there was a morning, I think we had a breakfast bread and banana. Was it bread and olive oil? Was it?
Bread and banana, because we couldn't find anything else that wasn't wrapped in plastic.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's also true that, again, traveling, we had only 1 week, so traveling faster, it's harder because you don't have time to plan so much. You don't have to go to local markets, for example. So that also was a test. But we did brilliantly, and for the 7 or 8 days that we travel, we produced no plastic until
the last day.
The last part of the day.
We have a habit of sending postcards to our families. His father collects stamps, and so we bought some postcards. And when we were going to the post to drop them off, we noticed that they were wrapped in plastic too, but we didn't realize at the store. So yeah, that's why we were not 100% successful. Just 99.
Just 99. So that was a little
Well, you know what? I'll cut you that slack. I think you did pretty well. Now, so for you, your zero waste journey obviously involves anyone who's going to try not to generate any single-use waste is going to have to make decisions, right? And hard decisions about getting or not getting things based on what it's wrapped in or what packaging exists. But there are also tools and products that we can use that will in turn allow us to still get things when out. Like, for example, when I am at a street market, and I get food, instead of getting them to put it on a disposable tray and give me a disposable fork, I have collapsible Tupperware. It's in my bag all the time. And because it's collapsible, it doesn't take up a lot of space. And I've got a fork as well. So I always have takeout and street food put in this. So then that way I eliminate at least this. And that's one of a few examples of zero waste tools and things that I have. What are some of your favorite zero waste tools and tricks that you use?
So mine is the bread bag to use for popcorn on theaters. So you go to a theater and then you ask for popcorn, but instead of having that huge basket for an hour and a half of the movie, you give them a bread bag and they put the popcorn inside the bread bag and they look at you like you're like hippie, crazy people, but it really works. I have a picture. We can say, I think
we say bread bag, right, Nora?
Yeah, bread bag.
Where we put the bread. It's like It's
like a plastic bag that would have a loaf of bread in it.
No,
or a paper bag.
Made up, because in Europe the bread bag.
It's like maybe it's an old-fashioned thing, but basically it's a cloth. It's a cloth bag.
There are something similar now. There are reusable produce bags. I think that would probably be very similar to what you're talking about. And that's another great tool whenever you're shopping at the supermarket. Those produce bags can eliminate the use of plastic bags for your fruit and vegetables. And now I've learned they can put popcorn in it too. I always get weird looks when I bring out my various zero waste accoutrements, but I also get a lot of questions. People are intrigued. What is that? Why do you have that? Oh, well, I'm trying not to generate any single-use waste. Oh, that's a really good idea. And I noticed that, my friends and family, some of them kind of made fun of me in the beginning, but I noticed that it actually started catching on, and they actually started getting some of the similar tools themselves. So, you can lead by example, even though you may look like a crazy person at the beginning.
No, you definitely lead by example.
Yeah.
So Sara, what's your trick?
Well, I'm going to speak now for the female audience, but it's the menstrual cup.
Yes.
Yes, you also use it. Great. I think this is one of the best zero waste hacks out there. I mean, just the amount of disposables that you are saving, it's huge. Also, I mean, it's very comfortable. You just put it on and you forget about it the rest of the day, almost. For me, it has been a revolution, for women. So I really recommend. And there's so many videos out there, to see how does it work, how do you put it on, take it off. So, I mean, it's just giving it a try. I think it's amazing.
And on the whole, it's also cost savings. You save the expense of tampons or pads. Also, it's healthier. You save the risk of toxic shock syndrome. And my only caveat is that it can take a little while to get used to it. But if you're patient and you take the time to get used to it, it's kind of like riding a bicycle. Like once you get used to it, you're good. Good. I've never actually used that simile for a menstrual cup, but there we go. It's the first time for everything.
I think it works well, yeah.
I will say one of my absolute favorite pieces of gear, and this was long years, 10 years before I even, thought of zero waste, was the reusable shopping bags. I mean, this bag, I mean, it's light, it's made from discarded nylon, and so it's recycled to begin with. It holds 50 pounds worth of stuff. I've always got it in my purse. So whenever I'm shopping anywhere at any time, or if I need an extra bag, I'm, visiting a friend and they give me something to take home with me, whatever it is, doesn't matter. I've got the bag for it. This has been a huge saver of all kinds of plastic.
Yeah, the zero waste pack or zero waste kit, it's just something useful and it saves money to us, and even on the marketing talent, people even they're happy because they're saving on their plastic bags because they had to pay out also, right?
Yeah, so, and they were also very happy because they said, oh, you're not using plastic. That's so nice. You're thinking about the planet. And they're like, yes.
And I think the more of us who do that, the more we will inspire other people and organizations and merchants and vendors to follow suit, because they realize it's important to us as consumers. So they will start to cater to our needs. There's a lot of hotel chains now that are doing away with the little single-use bottles, which are great. And I personally will put my money behind a company that is specifically doing away with single-use products and single-use waste, or that are making their products with recycled plastic or discarded fishing nets, as an example. I definitely put my money where my mouth is in that sense. And I think that is just helping to create this ever-growing movement towards zero waste, which brings me to No Footprint Nomads. This is your website. This is your brand. What is No Footprint Nomads, and what do you do?
Well, it's exactly what we've been talking for the last all this time on our website. It's a little bit our lifestyle and the way we like to approach nomadism and health. A little bit also look at about health, but it's mostly about nomadism and sustainability. So it's like the intersection that we're talking about, all these issues and all these things that we need to think about as nomads and the impact in our society and our planet. We try to discuss there, and it's a baby website compared to all these topics, everything that can be said and written about this. But it's basically reflecting this lifestyle. Yes, being a nomad, it's the positive side of it and how to help, and also the negative side of it, because it's not always roses, but sustainability at the same time, how to mitigate your impact, and if possible, to have a positive impact, not just avoid the negative, but have a positive one, like impact on your local places where you are. So stay longer, connect longer with people, connect longer with society, with institutions. Anyway, it's a little bit it's an inspiration website for this lifestyle. I think it's us.
Yeah, it's us.
Do you have any final pieces of wisdom, tips, or requests of our viewers in terms of their own journey towards environmental sustainability within their lives and lifestyles?
If I can advertise,
Please go right ahead.
One of the projects I'm involved, it's called Thriving Nomads, and Thriving Nomads, it's exactly trying to bring, in this case, business-wise, impact to your nomad or remote lifestyle. So we do open conferences just to network and to bring purpose-driven people. So if any of you out there listening to us that want to have more impact with what they're doing, it can be volunteering where you are and just join a local cause, or maybe there's for example Nomad Giving Back that connect you with local NGOs, or there's in Europe there's rural that connects you with local businesses, just to help out where you are. If you're staying for some weeks, you are an expert in something, why not give 2 hours of your time to a local business and help them to grow a little bit more? So that's one side of it. And then also, if you want your business to be more impactful and digital online and still work and still traveling, then Thriving Nomad is a good place to start. So you can start No Footprint Nomads to become a nomad, and then Thriving Nomads to become an impactful nomad. And so Thriving Nomads is actually doing a in-person conference and hybrid in the Canary Islands next year in March. So also consider everyone checking out Canary Islands as a destination for impact-driven nomads. So it's already full of remote work and Thriving Nomads, and it's already a mature destination because it's amazing lifestyle in south of Europe, but it's also going to be the hub spot for impact nomads.
Brilliant. Okay, so everybody watching or listening, you have your mission. Your mission is to visit No Footprint Nomads. That is the home base for Jay and Sara and all of the amazing projects that they have going. We will provide links to all of this within the show notes and the description. Thank you both so much for joining me today. This has been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
My name is Nora Dunn. I'm otherwise known as the Professional Hobo, and I will catch you next time.